I was in school, you know, we used to sing it something like this. Oh,
Every November 11th, America takes time to thank the men and women who have served in our armed forces. Ever wonder why?
It originally was in November as kind of a remembrance from World War I. It changed in the mid-60s to October because they wanted to make it a federally mandated holiday for a 4-day weekend. But in 1978 there under President Ford, they decided to switch it back to the official November date in remembrance of the reason it came about for Armistice Day.
The impact of our flag planting tradition, now almost 10 years old, is felt deeply by those whom we honor.
There's a lot of people who look forward to seeing what we do on Veterans Day. I got a phone call from a veteran who just was driving by the school and saw the display, and he probably made it through only a couple words before he started crying and hung up the phone and just said thank you.
And, you know, the recognition helps, right? The recognition that the authentic recognition is important, because you don't get it very often, and you certainly don't ask for it, right? How many veterans don't ever seek their veterans benefits just because they feel like they don't deserve them, and every one of them do.
Each soldier, sailor, Marine, and airman has their own story, and it's important to honor them all.
I always wanted to join. I drove through a blizzard, actually. It's kind of my story. I drove through 6 inches of snow. I couldn't see but like 10 feet in front of me, and it took me 3 hours to drive 15 miles to the recruiting station.
That type of enthusiasm for joining is typical, but so are the struggles and challenges facing veterans once they re-enter civilian life.
You know, sometimes when we're going about our business and we're going through our lives, we forget about the people who have committed parts of their lives to help others and to help us.
Veterans Day really speaks to me in a lot of different ways. It's a very emotional day for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of my fellow veterans. So in terms of my own memories and the experiences that I still deal with to this day, it's a day of remembrance. It's also a day of activism. 22 veterans a day commit suicide. So it's something about acting and making sure that we keep each other safe as well.
And so that human element, that piece, that there is true sacrifice that happens on all of our behalves, can get lost in the patriotic shuffle, I guess is what I would say.
To make sure that doesn't happen here, Rochester Community Schools has shifted its focus to celebrate the deeper significance of Veterans Day.
I think in the past couple years we've seen a lot more focus on recognizing what our soldiers and what our veterans have gone through, better focus on the trials and tribulations they've had to face when they've come home from war. Immediately after, it was meant to focus on the patriotism, it was meant to celebrate those that had fought in the war. But as time has gone on with parades, with remembrance, with what we do here at Rochester, with flags being put out, there's a lot more remembrance and focus on the thankfulness of what these people did and bringing light to that.
The recurring events of Veterans Day matter, whether it's something at an elementary school where, you know, the way you explain Veterans Day to an elementary child is different than maybe some way we articulate it to high school kids. But I think it's all important because it shows a community interest in it.
What I like about what we do is that it gives everybody that moment of pause to think about it, because so many people don't even think about it. And so I would maybe raise that bar a little bit. So when you're planting that flag, have some intentionality behind it. Think, like if you have a loved one that has served, or if you've lost a loved one, like we've had Rochester students that have lost older siblings, you know, during this high conflict time. Plant your flag and set your intention.
I mean, obviously, I would thank my brothers and sisters that have served before me. Why wouldn't I want to?
I'd like to thank my uncle for serving in Iraq for our country.
I'd like to thank my grandpa Pete Kremple for serving in the Cold War. I would like to thank my dad, Joseph Weideman, for our service and time in the Marines. He was a Marine for 10 years. And during his time, I was born in Pensacola, Florida, and my brother and sister were born around the country as well. We lived on military bases, and I'd just like to truly thank the sacrifice he made for my family and how he's got the position he's in now, and I wouldn't be here without him.